Stability study for pharmaceuticals. The present video is related to the stability studies, type of stability studies, objective of stability studies which are done for the pharmaceuticals. I have made different videos for the stability studies, and this video is related to the basic information and the objectives. Also, this video will include best practices for performing the stability studies. What is the meaning of stability study? Stability means it is the ability of the pharmaceutical product. Also, you can say it is the ability of drug substance to meet the quality parameters. It is the ability to retain or remain in the state of efficacy and safety. Efficacy and safety state means the identity, quality and purity throughout the shelf life or storage period, that is also known as expiry period. Stability means to meet the product critical quality attributes. You can say that these are the CQAs. The product should meet all the CQAs. If you consider the tablet formulation, it should meet the physical properties, chemical properties, microbiological properties and the dissolution related properties. Ensuring the product quality and compliance to the regulatory requirement is the objective. The stability studies ensure safety and efficacy of the formulation. Stability is required to build into the product and it is required to be tested and validated. The shelf life is assigned and can be extended based on to the stability studies and regulatory approval. So whenever the new product is formulated, its stability is required to be demonstrated for the regulatory approval. Also, during the commercial run, the stability studies are ongoing. So what are the objectives for the stability studies? The main objectives are to have the shelf life period or to calculate the expiry period. And the stability studies are done to study the impact of environmental factors like temperature, humidity, light or pH effect onto the formulation. Also, it studies the effect of storage conditions and storage period on the drug product quality attributes. These are done to select the suitable packaging materials, packaging system, container closures and the transport conditions. The stability studies are done to derive the shelf life or expiry period for the formulation and retest period and expiry period for the API. Also, the in-use stability is done to evaluate the in-use stability period. The stability studies are aimed to determine the storage conditions and library requirements and instructions. And these instructions related to the labeling like storage and storage conditions are given onto the product label. For product registration, post-approval changes, post-approval changes approval and market recalls and complaints. So these all are related to the stability study objectives. Stability is required for product registration, product approval, to get the post-approval changes approval and to avoid the market recalls and the complaints about the product. So these are the main study objectives. Then what are the stability types? Like you can say in other words the stability CQAs. These are physical stability, chemical stability, microbiological stability and therapeutic and toxicological stability types. So these are the product quality attributes I have divided into physical, chemical, microbiological and therapeutic type of stability attributes. So physical stability involves to test the appearance, color, odor, size, shape, form, palatability and specific requirement as per the dosage form and the dosage form design. For example, if you consider the suspension formulation, its redispersibility should be there throughout the shelf life. So that is the physical stability for the suspension formulation. Similarly, for emulsion, phase separation should not be there. For capsule formulation, color change should not be there. For soft gelatin formulation, microbial growth should not be there and appearance should be maintained throughout the shelf life. These are the stability type of physical stability. Then chemical stability. It involves assay, dissolution, dose dumping study and dose dumping dissolution requirements, then dissolution profile, impurity profile like. Microbiological stability involves microbial contamination or microbial growth. Then therapeutic and toxicological stability depends on the above three stability types and it involves toxicity due to impurities, change in the bioavailability, degradation and decomposition. So these are the type of stabilities. ICH guidelines are required to be followed for performing the stability studies, for testing the stability samples and for the evaluation of stability data. So all these guidelines are there in the ICH guidelines. ICH Q1A, Q1B, Q1C, Q1D, Q1E and Q1F is there for stability study for the pharmaceuticals. So you can go through these guidelines to have a good understanding about the topic. Formal stability conditions I have enlisted here like long-term condition, intermediate conditions and the accelerated condition. To have the formal stability data to calculate the shelf life and expiry period, the formulations are required to be loaded for stability on these conditions. Long-term condition involves stability storage condition as 25 degrees Celsius, 60% RH, then intermediate 30, 65, accelerated will be 40, 75, that is 40 degrees Celsius temperature and 75% RH. Depending on the dosage forms, depending on the formulation sensitivity, the long-term conditions can be different, accelerated conditions can be different and intermediate conditions can be different. I have made separate video on this. You can go through that video to have the understanding about these conditions. Then what is the stability study types? So different stability studies are done. These are like formal stability study as per the climatic zones. The climatic zone video is there and you can go through that video. The world is divided into 4 types of zones and depending on that climatic zones, you can decide the long-term storage conditions and the other storage conditions and stability conditions. Post-degradation to study the intrinsic stability or intrinsic sensitivity of the API and the formulation. Photostability study or light stress studies to study the effect of light onto the formulation. Cyclic temperature stress study or you can say it as freeze thaw study for liquid formulations. Open pot study or open exposure studies are also done to study the effect of environmental factors onto the open formulation. Hold time stability studies are performed to decide the hold time for intermediate stage materials and to have the hold time period during the batch manufacturing. In use studies are done for multi-dose containers. Then reconstitution stability studies are performed for powder for oral solution or powder for oral suspension, and the injectable formulations which involve the reconstitution before use. Then coming to the best practices, always follow the regulatory guidelines for the stability studies. Know your formulation and know your formulation design. Know your API, know your excipient, and have the good understanding about the product sensitivity. Perform stability studies starting from the development. Whatever the development samples you prepare, you study those samples for the stability. Use different composition batches and load these batches in on the stability so that you will have the good idea about the behavior of the formulation. Conduct force degradation studies and compatibility studies and correlate the facts obtained from these studies with the product sensitivity. Then always monitor physical, chemical and microbiological parameters. Perform initial analysis and use validated methods for analysis of the stability samples. For example, whatever the API you are going to use in the formulation for stability batches, that API should be tested. If it contains impurity at higher side at the initial stage only, then those API batches should be avoided. Also, always have the initial analysis data in hand before loading the batches on stability. So these are some of the best practices. Upcoming videos will be there on stability studies, which will deal with detailed information about the best practices and to improve the stability of the formulation. I have a playlist for stability study videos on Pharma Learning in Depth channel. You can go through those videos and have the information about all the stability related topics. So this is regarding the stability study. The video is related to the basics, and I hope you have got good idea about the stability studies for pharmaceuticals from this video. If you have any questions, you can write into the comments and I will try to give best possible answers. If you have any stability related issue, you can ask in the comments and I will try to solve your stability related issues. So this is for the current video. I hope you have got a good understanding about the topic. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.